This is the third and final fight of this event, also scheduled for 2 rounds of 15 minutes each. With the exception of eye gouging, groin shots, and biting, all else is permitted. With this kind of freedom, it's very unlikely that a match such as this would end up in a draw. The brutal intensity of these fights will more than likely bring forth a winner.
Denilson Maia. São 2 rounds de 15 minutos, com 2 de descanso.
This is the Jiu Jitsu fighter, weighing 185 pounds, and his opponent, the freestyle representative, comes in weighing 205 pounds. In order to prepare for this fight, the freestyle representative supposedly had some Jiu Jitsu training, in hopes that it would give him the elements to win this fight. Observe, they have no protective gear of any kind. Remember that the Jiu Jitsu fighter does not want to use the finishing techniques he knows. He wants to defeat his opponent at his own game of punches and kicks. So now they're down to it. The Jiu Jitsu fighter with black trunks and the freestyle representative with the white trunks. When I came to the United States in the mid-70s, I had the dream of making the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Academy teaching methods known to the world. I was shocked to discover that the martial arts community was not addressing ground combat, the most important aspect of real fighting. How could this be possible? Didn't they realize most fights will end up on the ground? Sure, there were a few styles which made a pretense of addressing grappling techniques, but I couldn't find any instructors who were preparing their students for the real thing. If your art overlooks ground fighting, a most predictable and dangerous situation, how can you be truly prepared? It was as if a vacuum existed within the very heart of the martial arts community. A dangerous void which had either been overlooked or deliberately ignored. I soon realized the magnitude of my task, to awaken my fellow martial artists all over the world to the crucial importance of ground fighting. The news that something was missing in terms of combat strategy and that at the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Academy we had the answer hit like a bomb, shaking the foundation of the martial arts establishment. I knew it would mean stepping on some very big toes, but I could not ignore the need of the majority to protect the pride of a few. So I issued the Gracie Challenge, the same challenge that the Gracie family and its representatives have defended for the last 65 years. To fight in real combat against any opponent of any style at any time. The purpose of our challenge is not to promote ourselves as the deadliest fighters in the world. Rather, it is our intention to show, using scientific and empirical standards, that the techniques and strategies of Jiu Jitsu are consistently and measurably superior to the other styles. In the field of science, the results of a single experiment are never accepted as fact. Scientific standards insist that an experiment must be repeated again and again, and that each repetition must produce identical results before a formula or theory is accepted. By testing Jiu Jitsu against style after style, we have built an irrefutable body of evidence as to the devastating effectiveness of our approach. More importantly, we have successfully been doing this for over 65 years. Weight difference was never a reason for us not to enter a ring. We have countless times matched ourselves against opponents of greater weight and size, in the ring and on the street. In the Orient, this kind of challenge was common practice in the old days. Presently, Jiu Jitsu representatives are the only martial arts that offer this kind of open invitation. The Gracie Challenge has generated some hostility from a few. Thankfully, a much larger number of people believe our intentions are good and understand the importance of the challenge. It has earned us the respect of all those looking for a truly reliable fighting system. The Gracie Challenge is a moral issue. It must exist, for it represents the absolute confidence we have in our system. Our goal in continuing the challenge is to expose and spread the truth about real fighting. Truth is the quality that moves us forward, expands our horizons, and ultimately sets us free. We should never fear it. Those who do so perhaps because they have something to hide. Perhaps they worry that the relentless light of truth may expose the inadequacies, or worse, the deliberate deceptions in their own worlds. I want to clarify that we respect all the other martial arts. Each one has its strong points. Jiu Jitsu itself is a combination of different styles. However, we feel that individually they have limitations in terms of effectiveness and practicality. As I said, when I first came to the United States, there was nothing being taught which even approached the reality of ground fighting. In the years since, it has been most gratifying to meet and educate the hundreds of martial artists who have come to us in search of the absolute best in realistic fighting skills. It has also been amusing to watch the flood of imitators and pretenders to the throne who have rushed to capitalize on the sudden demand for information on effective ground fighting. We're back to the fight. The Jiu Jitsu fighter is trying to get away from the inside of his opponent's legs so that he may establish a solid position on top. It is easy to see when fighters are close together like this, they cannot really hurt each other too much. The trick is to fight for a good position. Then you will have the good angle to hit your opponent, but be out of reach from his punches. They are both very strong and can withstand each other's punches. Sometimes you don't see much action. It may appear that they are only holding on to each other. But don't fool yourself. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye. Every little move counts, leading into something else. Even waiting has a purpose, not to mention that gives them the opportunity to rest. The Jiu-Jitsu man knows that simply punching a man like this would be a difficult task. So his goal is to get to a position where he can hit without being interrupted. Ultimately, he will look for the mounted position. Like playing chess, he can use his knowledge of ground fighting to anticipate his plan of action. His familiarity with ground fighting gives him the confidence to make the proper sequence of techniques that will lead him to victory. He has his leg trapped, but you will notice him untangling the leg to establish the top position. Now he will push his opponent's leg out of the way. There he goes, making his move. The Jiu-Jitsu fighter will take his time and make sure that his opponent will not escape. The crowd senses the end is near, and as the man on the bottom realizes he cannot escape, he will signal to the referee to stop the savage onslaught. The freestyle representative, who claimed he had learned some Jiu-Jitsu, will now understand two things. First, he did not learn enough. And second, the little he learned was not at the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy.